So we are excited to talk a little bit tonight about wisdom in relationships, because we all have relationships. We want to be in relationships. And so where do we get wisdom and some information? And specifically, we're going to talk about in the context of dating relationships.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, we've been here 14 years. Can't believe how fast that
goes.
went. And we've noticed dating since we've been here. I teach classes on interpersonal relationships. Noreen and I both work with the Center for Marriage and Relationships that we have here at Biola. And we've kind of noticed two things about dating as we've been here. One.
Can you get me that orange folder, please?
Oh,
Thank
great.
you.
Oh, yeah, your notes. That'd be awesome.
That would be helpful.
Okay. One, we've
Thank
noticed
you.
there's not much dating that happens at Biola. There's very seldom. By the way, that isn't just unique to Biola University. When I travel and speak at other universities, Christian universities, they all say no dating happens at their university as well. Second, when it does happen, it goes 0 to 100, like in light speed.
You're exclusive, you're talking about marriage, you're meshing your lives, but you hardly know each other.
Yeah, like we're talking weeks, months, and then it's like, yeah, we're learning to love each other unconditionally. No, wait, you
get to
shouldn't
know
be
each
loving
other
each other
first,
unconditionally. You shouldn't be loving each other, period, kind of a thing. So
in that way.
In that way, yeah.
But so where can you go to get some dating advice? And, you're students, you do research all the time. So, maybe you could ask Siri. I've never tried that, so I'm not sure what she would say. But you could Google it, right? So you Google dating advice, and what you end up with, we did this, and there were, I think, 54 million responses in 2.1 seconds. And some of them may be helpful, but mostly it's just going to be confusing. So that's probably not a great place. Then, of course, there's the next favorite, which is Wikipedia, which you as good students know that Wikipedia is not a good source of reliable information. Although what they say about dating, definition-wise, it wasn't that bad. But it's not going to be the best place to go to figure out kind of what you should or shouldn't be doing with the dating culture at Biola. Now, if you were a student here in 1964, you actually could have turned to what was then Biola College Student Handbook, and they had a section on dating. Seriously. So let me read to you what they said about dating in 1964. It says, "And what about dates? Of course you are interested. Freshman girls will ask date permission of their house mothers during their first year. You have to ask before 5 p.m. of the night of your date. Other students need not ask permission, but all students are required to sign in and out on their cards before leaving." But this is what I love. It actually gives a definition. It says, a date, in this case, refers to going off campus with a fellow, whether by a couple or in a group. Like, if it could only be that easy that you could turn to the student handbook and figure out what dating is and is not at Biola.
That was 1964?
1964,
nice.
But we thought what we could do is perhaps look at a document that's even older than the 1964 handbook. And it's not unlike the handbook in that it is designed to give some guidance and some wisdom, but also speak into a culture that may not necessarily support godly wisdom, and that is the book of Proverbs.
Yeah, the book of Proverbs was the collective wisdom of Jewish writers that was passed on to the younger generation to teach them about wisdom, discernment. We found it interesting when it talks about heart issues. So take a look at Proverbs 4:23-26. It says this, "Watch over your heart with all diligence, for from it flows the springs of life. Put away from you a deceitful mouth, and put devious lips far from you. Let your eyes look directly ahead, and let your gaze be fixed in front of you. Watch the path of your feet, and all your ways will be established." What we like about that is in Hebrew, heart means all of you. So we should be very careful what we give our heart to. Bible talks a lot about idol worship. So the heart is your full-born commitment to something or to another person. And the book of Proverbs is saying, be very careful that when you give out your heart, be very careful to scrutinize and discern the path that is in front of you. We would love to take that ancient wisdom and apply it to dating, that we need to watch our hearts as we date, and we need to own the path that we are creating by our communication with another person. We need to own how quickly we're moving along that path, how quickly we're giving our heart to another person. I teach communication classes. So we talk about factors that move us towards commitment. Later, we're going to take a look at escalators. But communication theorists have been very interested in what brings people together in appropriate ways and maybe ways that are just too quick, that you're moving at such a quick speed that the commitment of the relationship just simply cannot keep up. So the very first factor we're going to take a look at is
ambiguity. So once a relationship moves kind of beyond that casual acquaintance, some ambiguity is going to enter in as you're trying to define the relationship. It is inevitable, but it can also be a little bit uncomfortable. And when we feel uncomfortable, generally we try to seek comfort, which means we're going to try to move out of that stage and possibly move out of it too quickly. Because ambiguity is inevitable and it's normal. And so much so, there was an article in USA Today a couple of years ago that was called, "Could Dating Get Any More Confusing?" And let me read you what it was. They did an online survey of 2,647 singles showing the level of ambiguity in dating. And in this survey, they found out that 69%, that's almost 70% of the people, said they are at least somewhat confused about whether an outing with someone is a date or not.
Wow.
70% of the people don't know when they're going out or when they're hanging out or whatever you want to call it, whether or not it's a date. And there was a quote from, this was a first-year MBA student from Fordham University, and this is what he said. "It comes up often. I hope she doesn't think this is a date." And I thought, why does he hope that, if he's spending time with a woman, why does he hope that she thinks it's not a date? I thought that was kind of curious. Then he went on to say, "I just want to have fun." Well, dates are supposed to be fun. Like, why are those things in contrast to each other? Then he said, if it's someone that you just met recently and consistently have one-on-one hangout sessions with them, then that's sort of a date. Like, really, how confusing could it be? And I probably shouldn't be too harsh on him because we had our own level of confusion and ambiguity when we started, what did he say? Hangout sessions? One-on-one hangout sessions?
Yes, this is true. So we worked together. We had the benefit of working together. We both were on staff with Campus Crusade for Christ, now called Cru, at Miami of Ohio University in Oxford, Ohio. We actually lived next to each other in an apartment complex. And so we spent time working together. I was interested, probably more ahead of you.
A little.
Right? Okay.
Not much. No, really. That was not, I meant that seriously. Just a little.
So it's weird because we're working together. It's a small ministry team of about 10 people. We would periodically go get yogurts together. So I would do this crazy thing where I'd take my car keys and I would take my car keys and I would throw them as high as I could and told Noreen, if I catch them behind my back, she has to buy me yogurt. If I miss it, I'll buy her yogurt. That's a win-win right there, baby. Yeah. So I would throw those things up there, and sometimes I would catch it, most times I wouldn't, but we'd go off and get yogurt together, and I'm thinking...
I was no the wiser. It was fun.
This is awesome. And then we went and saw a movie together.
We did,
which almost ended our date, which ended any chance of having a dating relationship. So we go to see the movie. This is going to date us. It was a Tom Hanks movie called Big. Right? You know, yeah.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, great movie. So we literally go see this. We are driving 10 days later.
Yeah.
10 days later?
Maybe, yeah.
We pass the marquee that has Big. I turn to her and say, "Oh, Big, have you seen it? You would love it."
Yeah. How much of a date was that? So apparently I was correct in thinking that wasn't a date.
Well, it was
because it didn't register.
It was retrograde amnesia. I don't know what it was.
But we figured it out.
Yeah, we did. We slowly figured it out.
Yeah, we had a good amount of ambiguity, and we lived through it and survived.
Gotta live in the tension of that ambiguity.
Okay.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with the ambiguity. There's a lot wrong with getting rid of the ambiguity and moving towards commitment in way too quick a means. So we hate. So this is ambiguity is put away from your mouth, from yourself, a deceitful mouth, which means do not over-communicate early on in a relationship. One of the worst things we can do is over-communicate, and we do that in a ton of different ways, but we talk about things we shouldn't talk about. We fantasize about where this relationship could go in its very beginning stages. So dubious lips would mean I'm writing a relational check that I cannot cash. I am not ready to fully commit, but I want to know what's happening with us, and I literally push the relationship to move way too quickly ahead for a bunch of different reasons.
Then Proverbs, the next verse says, "Let your eyes look directly ahead and let your gaze be fixed straight in front of you. Watch the path of your feet." And there, again, in that ambiguity, to be careful that you're not miscommunicating and not misleading someone's heart, right? Because we want to protect not only our heart, but we want to protect the heart of others that we're in relationship with and care for them and honor them deeply. And what that means is that we don't mislead with our words and we don't mislead with our actions. And that the path that you're setting for your feet, you could also be carving a path for someone else. And so to be really kind of aware of that.
So we were talking to a student, and again, I think sometimes it's not that you're doing this on purpose, but it can still have the same result. For example, we were talking to this one guy, and he's saying, yeah, I'm hanging out with this girl. We're like talking to 3 in the morning. And I'm like, really? Talking to 3 in the morning? Like, what are you talking about till 3? Oh, just everything, life, God. And I go, how often have you been doing this? Oh, well, like 3 times last week, twice this. I'm like, what do you think's happening with her heart? Oh, no, we're just talking. Yeah, till 3 in the morning. How do you think her heart is handling that? And are you ready to write that kind of commitment to this relationship? And he was like, no, I'm not ready. We're just talking. Yeah, but to do it so consecutively, to isolate that person and then talk to 3 in the morning, I think that is getting rid of the ambiguity and pushing you way towards commitment before you're ready for that type of commitment and isolating of each other.
Mm-hmm. So you want to be honest and you want to be kind. And even if the relationship doesn't move to a romantic relationship, or that you should also need to keep in mind that you want to do it in the context of kingdom love and love for one another. So even though ambiguity could be uncomfortable, it is survivable. And sometimes it's even beneficial when it's done, again, with integrity and with honor.
And so Noreen's being a little generous. So when we met each other, I was like right off the hook pretty attracted to her. I mean, I really was, and she was attracted towards me. I had hair back then. No, I'm kidding.
You did. But
I did, yeah. Actually, a lot of it,
you
if
did
we're going to be
all,
honest, yeah. So I now sometimes think I look like I'm in witness protection program when I look back at my... But so I was interested in her, and kind of because I was impatient, because I knew that I was attracted to her, I was really pushing for us to go on an official date. And Noreen, for a bunch of reasons, was hesitant to do that. Again, we work together, so if this dating relationship doesn't work, now you're in a work situation, a ministry situation that could get really awkward, and the campus director is going to say, hey, sorry, you need to work with each other, and I don't care if it's awkward between you two guys. So a friend of mine, and that was putting pressure on the relationship that just wasn't good. A good friend of mine, Jim, said to me, Tim, do you get time with her? I'm like, yeah. Do you enjoy getting time with her? Yeah. Well, then just enjoy that. Why do you need to ask her on a date? Why does it need to be an official date? And I was like, well, he goes, can I offer you an answer to that? I said, sure. He goes, your immaturity. That's why you want this to be an official date. Just enjoy her company. And you know what? I really took that to heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that really
it won me over.
That doggone hair. Okay, so... No, but it did. It took the pressure off the relationship, and then we can just enjoy this casual time instead of it making this big official date. And eventually we did go on dates, had to have the defining the relationship talk and all that kind of stuff. But we hate ambiguity. What we need to do is anticipate what we're doing. So feed forward, you would say, is anticipating the effect of what you're about to do. Like if you're overly complimenting a person, anticipate where that's going to go. If you're always touching each other in fun, playful, just anticipate where that's going to go. If you're pouring your heart out to each other, just anticipate, hey, where is this going to take us? And am I ready for it to take us in that kind of a direction? And again, I have people who say, yeah, I'm going to ask her to be my girlfriend, and these big, elaborate, Les Mis moments of, and I'm like, hey, be very careful how you start this thing, because you got to give yourself room to grow, and if you start at such a fast pace, there's really nowhere for the relationship to go to breathe. What this does is this fosters what we call momentum, and momentum can really pick up very quickly. I love pop music. I use a lot of it in my writing. I think pop culture really does affect us in a lot of different ways. So because we speak on relationships, marriage, it is very interesting to listen to pop culture's narrative of what love is and how quickly love can progress. So we came across a video that we thought were fascinating from a group we actually like called Train, but they wrote a song called Marry Me.
Marry Me. And this is what I know about you. I know how you clean up a broken cup on the floor of the cafe. But I'm pretty sure that our love is going to last forever.
Only if I get enough nerve
to say hello into this cafe. So really, but the problem is this is kind of what we're surrounded with, and this has subtle influences on us that we feel like, oh, we want that kind of love that's just going to carry me away, and that the first time we have eye contact, I'm just going to know it, and we're never going to have any problems. We'll be soulmates, and you'll know exactly what I'm thinking, and that is not life.
And you know, we could pick on pop culture, but this goes way back. If you read Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet fall in love in 6 lines. If you read Les Mis, Cosette and Marius fall in love in a park, separated by distance, just looking at each other, a love that's going to survive the French Revolution. So So I guess if we watch one Train video, we know enough to say that's silly, but there's something called cultivation theory that says the accumulative effects of culture on a person can slowly get us to have really warped views of what love is. And one of the biggest warped views that we notice is that love, when it's true love, passionate love, moves very quickly with a real sense of assuredness. And so I know I love you, I just need to know what your name is. The Rolling Stones had this thing called I Love You, Won't You Tell Me Your Name, was one of their songs as well. So this idea that we get carried away by love and that it's almost like a tidal wave, we need to really resist that kind of cultural message.
So let's do a little, oops, just gave away my answer. If you didn't read it quickly enough.
Professors hate that when we're doing PowerPoint. Yeah.
So the more blank the courtship, the less likely the success of marriage. So if you didn't see the word, the more passionate the courtship, the less likely the marriage is to survive. That comes from a study Dr. Ted Houston, who's at the University of Texas, did a 15-year study about length of courtship, type of courtship, and the correlation to a successful marriage. And that's what he found, was that the more passionate the courtship, because you have this idyllic courtship, that then there ends up with disappointment when you get into marriage, because the real life hits, the day-to-day stuff hits, and passion doesn't carry you through that. Now, let me just say, though, we're not anti-passion.
No.
Passion is not in and of itself a bad thing. And passion has an appropriate place in relationships. It just doesn't belong in the driver's seat. Yeah. Right? So it's not the thing that's making the decisions. It's not the thing that's compelling the relationship forward. The natural sex drive that God gave us is a beautiful thing when it is stewarded well and when it is under the control of the Holy Spirit. And that's something that we need before marriage and in marriage. You know, I know sometimes you look at the verse in 1 Corinthians that says it's better to marry than to burn. And you think that just because you get married that you're never going to deal with any kind of lust or issues like that. That is not the case. Before marriage and after marriage, we need to be in the habit and the practice and cultivating that discipline of stewarding our sex drive. That is a gift from God, but again, needs to be under the control of the Holy Spirit.
And this is where, as Christians, we need to be aware of what the Bible says, that there is an adversary. That you have someone who desires to get at your future marriage. And I think Satan is a reality. You can't read the Bible and not realize the reality of Satan. I just finished a book that's going to come out in October called Defending Your Marriage, The Reality of Spiritual Battle. And so one thing Satan loves to do is he plays the shame card. And here's where he really does it. So if you start a relationship really passionately, and that includes the physical dynamic, So you start to have premarital sex of varying degrees. A lot of couples that we've actually talked to have said this. So I know that we're doing things that we shouldn't be doing. I know that we've progressed way further physically than what I thought we should have, but we've done that. I'm okay with that if we get married. Now that if we're going to get married, then I can rationalize what just happened. So, and this particularly applies to women over men, is the thought is, okay, we've gone much farther than I wanted to, so now we have to get married, or I'm going to feel horrible about myself. And that's where the shame factor comes in. So progressing too far in a relationship physically does not mean that that's grounds for you to get married. But Satan will say, yeah, but then how will you feel about yourself if you don't get married? And we know 2 couples who said that. What did they say to us? It was really interesting how they phrased it.
They felt like it felt easier to them because they could say, I've only had sex with my spouse. Because they had had sex with a person, then they were deciding whether or not, even one of them in particular, who knew that she really shouldn't marry this guy. But she felt like it was somehow better that she could say, well, at least I will only have sex with my spouse, so I'm going to marry him. And what we would say is you don't compound a mistake with another mistake, right? You go to the Lord, you can ask for forgiveness, you receive that forgiveness, but you don't compound a mistake with another mistake.
That's right. And so communication scholars have been interested what pushes a relationship forward. We actually have come up with the term escalators that kind of move us very quickly along. So escalation is important for us to understand that kind of a concept. So an escalator are sequences of action that inherent in the action would be built-in momentum in the relationship. A very obvious one would be when you kiss that person. Inherently in the kiss is a built-in escalator that's going to move you forward very quickly. Once the first step is taken, individuals may feel that they are swept away as the relationship glides towards further commitment. So escalators have within themselves built-in momentum.
So anyway, out of control escalator in DC, all kinds of damage. People had to go to the hospital. People were injured, hurt. But what I love at the very end of that is they decided that it was a braking issue on the escalator, and their solution to that was to check the brakes more often. And I thought, what a good message that is to us. Like, check the brakes every now and then. Are they working? Are they in place? Those brakes may be the Holy Spirit. Those brakes may be your friend speaking life into you. Those brakes may be you spending time in the Word and just hearing from the Lord. But we need to check our brakes regularly.
I was speaking at an event by the Center for Marriage and Relationships, and a couple came up to me during the break, and they sat down, and they were holding hands, and they just sat down, and they said, hey, we want to get your advice about something. We kind of feel like we've been moving too quickly, and we want to know how to kind of reel things back in. I was like, oh, hey, great question. I said, so you guys are dating? Yeah, how long you been dating? They literally said 2.5 weeks. I was like, oh, okay, like what? Like we've been talking about our futures. We're both seniors. We're going to graduate. Maybe we should try to wind up in the same city. We feel we spent a lot of time together, physical involvement. And I said, 2.5 weeks? They said, yeah, what should we do? I was like, okay, I would not talk about this relationship anymore. And I just would have fun. You don't need to talk about anything like that and pull back physically. Just enjoy each other's company. I said, but it's hard because you guys went forward. Now you're going to try to go backwards. And by the way, tragically, I saw them on campus just a couple weeks ago, and they broke up. It was too fast. There's no way you can stay on an escalator moving that quickly. So we need to be careful of the momentum.
Right. And so what that comes to, there's 2 things within involvement that you want to keep an eye on, and that is your emotional integrity and physical integrity. So just as Tim was saying, be careful of starting off with oversharing. So we're not saying that you never get deep in a relationship, but it should be incremental based on the depth of the relationship. You don't start off by sharing your deepest, darkest secrets and desires and history all at one time. You don't just dump that out. There's time for that, but it's not on the first date. I love the Brené Brown quote. She said, our stories are not meant for everyone. Hearing them is a privilege, and we should always ask ourselves before we share, who has earned the right to hear my story? So just to be clear, we are not talking about protecting your heart like it's a fortress, right? Because any relationship involves some risk. And whenever you get into a relationship, and anywhere there's risk, there's the opportunity for joy and there's the opportunity for hurt. And you need to open your heart to those things, but you need to do it wisely and not sort of carelessly with your own heart, and again, wisely for the other person. I think sometimes when you do, so instead of thinking it like this bomb shelter that you might build for, that's going to withstand a nuclear blast, think of it more like the gatehouse at Biola, right? When you come onto campus and the gate is closed, it causes you to pause. And then once they realize like you're a safe person and you belong here, the gate opens up and you can proceed. So that's what we're talking about, is instituting a pause and saying, is this a safe person? Is this the right time to open the gate and to proceed in relationship? We are down to a minute and a half.
Are we really?
We are.
Holy
we
cow.
need to credit.
So, okay, here we go. The second one is called idealization, which is a huge part. So idealization is, just know, in the beginning stages of a relationship, you are seeing a person's front stage, not the backstage. Mm-hmm. In this idealization stage, each one of you is putting the best foot forward. So remember Noreen and I lived next to each other? So Noreen got the flu one time, and she was just down and out in her apartment. I knew that. We weren't dating yet. We were not dating yet. I went and got a breakfast tray for some neighbors. I opened up a can of soup, grabbed a book of poetry, knock on her door. Noreen cracks the door. She's sick. She's got the flu. She said, Tim, you do not want to be around me. And I said, Noreen, God is sovereign. Right? So I walk in. I sit on the couch. Noreen has her feet, right? She's laying right there. I'm reading poetry to her. As she's eating soup I warmed up, she even looked at me and said, are you really this good? Mm-hmm. And I looked at her and I said, yes. Right? Hey, that's fine. Just know this is, so what does Chris Rock say? Chris Rock says on the first 5 to 6, 7 dates, you're not really dating a person, you're dating that person's representative. I love that quote, and it's absolutely true. So just know the idealization stage is not the time to be making commitments to each other. That needs to end its natural way before you really get to know each other.
Yeah. And the best example, I think, of the front stage, Bachelor, right? So much so, we don't even need to talk anymore about it. That is, those are people performing to get into a relationship. But again, this idea of idealization, part of the problem is premature emotional involvement and premature physical involvement clouds your objectivity. And what happens is you begin to get facts that counter that idealization, but you don't believe them because you're so enmeshed and so connected to each other in ways that you should not be, as far as the physical bonding and what happens because of that, even just hormonally what happens because of that.
So when we do premarital counseling, we do it occasionally. First assignment for the couple is, I want 5 things, I want you to come back individually, 5 things you love about each other, then you have to give us 3 areas that you're concerned about. And if a couple can't come back, and well, it'd be really a shame if they couldn't do the 5. Yeah, I really only came up with like 3.5. It's like, okay, that's bad. But if they can't come up with 3 areas of concern, we say you're not ready to get married. Mm-hmm. Because you have to have that kind of objectivity.
Because you're still idealizing.
Biola University prepares Christians to think biblically about everything, from science to business to education and the arts. Learn more at biola.edu.